welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about Christmas and how to reduce your food waste at Christmas. It's quite easy to overbuy meat, and what you can do is if you slice it when it's cold, you can put it in the freezer and in slices, so when you need it for sandwiches or somebody comes around, it defrosts really quickly and you can, it's really easy to serve up. It's just a good way of using it up. Same with little sausages. You can slice them and then use them for pizza toppings. You may have bought a lot of vegetables and you're not quite sure what to do with them all. A great way of using them actually is to just put them on a baking tray, put a drizzle of oil, put your favourite herb on there and just roast them for 35-40 minutes. And then you can then decide what to do with them later. You can reheat them as a side. You can put it into a soup with maybe a tin of tomatoes and a tin of beans and then some water, and then blitz it up to make a really tasty soup. You can use them cold in a salad with pasta or quinoa or rice, whatever carb you fancy. And you just add a tin of beans or some leftover meat, and it just makes a really quick, easy meal. I tend to make soup, a nice potato and leek soup, before Christmas. And then afterwards, when it's about the 27th, 28th, and you just sat there thinking, I really don't want to cook, you can just use that and add other things to your soup and a little bit of pasta to make a really easy meal. We don't want to be working that hard, really, do we, over Christmas? So the more you can do before Christmas, the better. I like to make my gravy beforehand. Just use leftover carcass and boil up the bones and get some nice flavour in there with a bay leaf and an onion, and strain that, and then put, if you want to put a little bit of bisto in there or a little bit of white wine, just go with the flow. Don't worry too much, it'll taste good. And if it's a bit thin, just add a little bit of flour, make a little paste, and then add it and thicken it up. Get that in the freezer, so that's one job done. Potatoes can be parboiled beforehand. You could put them in the freezer and then just roast them from the freezer. I tend to put them in water a couple of days before Christmas Eve, and then roast them on Christmas Eve, and then I do the full roast on the Christmas Day. I want to show you an easy meal with some Brussel sprouts. This has been sort of from the market a few days ago, and basically I've just put it in some water and just keep some moisture there to just stops them from going a bit soft. If you see the difference here, this one's been off for a few days and it's just starting to kind of go a little bit dehydrated there, look. But on here, they're fresh as the day that I bought it. It's just a nice way of using it like this, and I tend to start at the bottom and work my way up to the top. Preparing them, I just tend to chop the ends off here, and then you can just take off those outer leaves if they're a little bit ropey, like that. Now we can roast these. I quite like roasting them, so I think we might just roast these ones first. I always like to chop them in half, because when you roast them you can get some nice colour on them. I'm literally just going to put these in a roasting tin. A little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, give them a little shake. We're just going to stick them in the oven for about 30-40 minutes. Another option is to use an app. If you think you're not going to use your food, there's always somebody out there that would appreciate your food. So using an app like Olio, it's really useful in the local area. You can just say what you've got, and then people will come and pick it up, or you can maybe take it there. That's just literally plain Brussels sprouts. It's so easy to make more of those. We could put some nuts in there, some nice walnuts or pecans, a little drizzle of maple syrup, and some bacon. Now, I just happen to have some leftover bacon, so I'm just literally slicing this cooked bacon like this. So I've got a few pecans, just chopping those up a little bit. So I've got some pecans, I've got some bacon, I've got some little bit of maple syrup, and I've got my Brussels. So you can do this hot like this, or if you've got leftovers, this is a really good way of using your leftovers. You could use some ham, or you could use some turkey, and then we're just going to fry it off gently and make a nice little kind of leftover dish. I've even got some leftover roast potatoes as well, so if you want to go for it and make more of a meal out of it. So just going to warm that oil up. And put it all in there. Just cut them off. A little bit of butter. Right, I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup. I haven't got a lot, but it's just with that little bit of sweetness in there. It'll just make them nice and glossy as well. But this just makes it quite a nice leftover dish with leftover roast potato. Well, now I'm going to show you how to make a really simple pudding. One of those things you tend to buy and then you think, oh, what we're going to do with it is like phyllo pastry, but it can be really useful on top of pies. You can put some melted butter on it and scrunch it up and just lay it on the top of something savoury or something sweet. And this is what I like to do with mine. I tend to find myself with quite a bit of mincemeat, and I make my own, but I also usually have like emergency jars as well. And this is from last year, because obviously did do workshops last year, so I've got quite a bit of mincemeat, and it's out of date, but it's full of sugar. It looks fine, it smells fine. It's one thing I suggest using with about best before dates. Use your senses. What does it look like? What does it smell like? And the texture, and looks fine to me. But if you just want to give it a little bit of an oomph, just like if it has dried up a bit, especially if it's a couple of years old, because even after a couple of years old it's fine usually. It just really, all the fruit is just dehydrated. So all you need to do is put your favourite like liqueur of choice. I quite like a spiced rum. You could use Cointreau or orange, or any kind of flavour, and then just get a spoon and then just give that a little mix in. It just perks up a really basic mincemeat into something a little bit more special. You can also add a little bit of lemon as well. Put a little bit of lemon in there, just a little bit of lemon. And you could even put a little bit of zest in. Let's get my little zest there. We can just get a clementine and just get a little bit of zest and pop that through as well. So it's quite easy just to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit. I'm not getting much off that clementine. But you can just put a little bit of clementine juice in there if you didn't want to add any alcohol. But just give it a little bit more of a bit of flavour. And then just mix all that in. That smells really good now. I've got that. I've got a little bit of melted butter. And I've got some phyllo. Now it does dry out quite quickly. Whoops, it's a little bit dry. But it's fine. It's not got any black specks on it, it's not mouldy. I've not even looked at what the date is on this. I know it's been in my fridge for a little while. So I'm just going to put a couple of layers of pastry here. You could even use puff pastry. Puff pastry is another one of those great things to just get one and put it in the freezer. It doesn't take long to defrost, and you can use that for a pie topping, or you can make little fruit pastry parcels. Just really handy to have in. Just make the most of all those leftovers from Christmas. Well, it doesn't just have to be Christmas, does it? It can be any time of the year. Right, so I've got three layers there, and I'm just going to get my mincemeat it all the way across, because when we roll it, it'll kind of ooze along. I've just recently baked a load of nuts, 20 minutes in the oven at 150. So all those nuts that are raw, if you just bake them for a little bit, brings all the flavour out and much nicer. So just move that across a little bit. I'm just going to chop that. So I've just got some cashews, almonds, Brazils, some pecans. I'm just chopping all that up, and I'm just going to spread it in the mincemeat. They smell really nice. If you want to make these nuts extra special, all you need to do is coat a little bit of honey or maple syrup and maybe a little bit of salt, and when you're baking it, and it'll just absorb those flavours, and then you get those posh baked nuts that you can buy. It's really nice. So I'm just spreading that all along there, like that. And there we go. I'm going to put some more butter on the top of that. I've just got enough to make it nice and golden. To be honest, you could even put that in the freezer and then just get it out when you want it. Just got this few little bits of nuts, just scraps of nuts there, and just put them on the top. Just chop these up a little bit finer. So I'm not wasting anything. All these little scraps of nuts are going to go on the top, like that. I'm going to pop that in the oven. I reckon about 20-25 minutes, 180, that should come out until it's golden and it'll be all nicely cooked. Let's check on the phyllo roll. Oh, that smells so good. All we need for that is a little bit of cream, and that will be lovely. Ooh, how good does that look? I'm just cutting these on a slight angle, just for a little bit of interest. This one's split a little bit, but there we go. How nice is that? That smells lovely. So that's a really simple pudding that you can just knock up very quickly. See, food does not have to be complicated to taste good. So that was really quick, easy, and it's just really nice. So, you know, have a go, just see what's in your cupboard, and just see what you can use up in there, that just save it going to landfill. I'm a big believer of using what you've got and not always sticking to the recipe. Start with the ingredients and see what you can make with them, rather than going to the recipe book and thinking, I haven't got that, and then feeling deflated and not making anything. Just be creative with what you have and just share the love of food. Enjoy it, and you know, don't get stressed about it. You know, you're eating it, it's your kitchen. Enjoy it. And I hope you found these two little dishes really useful. And if you'd like to know more, you can follow me on my socials. I'm always posting what I'm having for dinner and what other people are making with me, and I hope it inspires you to cook more in the future.